Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and we got some updates on the front of the Xbox acquisition of Activision. And oh my word, a lot of that's still processing. I can't believe it's real, but we got to talk about a lot of updated information since the announcement of said acquisition. Things like exclusivity. I told y'all in the original video, like, it's gonna happen. We're gonna have to have that conversation, unfortunately, and we're going down that pathway again. History is repeating itself. But what's different from the Bethesda acquisition is some of the leadership. Bobby Kotick, to be specific, who is a piece of dirt, and we're hoping that he is out of Activision with this deal here. Now, it looks like he's getting a bit of a soft exit, but it looks like as well he is out of there once this deal is finalized. So we're going to read more on that. And last but certainly not least, a little nugget of information that was there upon the announcement that I personally overlooked and I do want to talk about is how quickly this gigantic industry record-setting deal came together in just a few short months. Yes, really, we got a lot to talk about in this video here today. So if you're new here, you're looking for more Xbox news and information, Xbox is going far and wide. If you've seen all my coverage, we try to talk about all of it. So if you're looking for a one-stop hub for all of it, consider subscribing here. Happy to serve you. With that, enough dilly-dallying. Let's talk exclusivity. So we've been here before. We've gone down this road with Bethesda. When Bethesda was acquired, it was the big battle of like, there's no way they're going to take all these games from us. There's no way they're going to make them all exclusive. I think so. They've shown as much so far, and I think that's going to continue with Activision. But let's read, starting off with an article from Bloomberg titled, Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard in $69 billion game deal. They have sources, which they mention in this article, stating Microsoft plans to keep some of the Activision games for PlayStation consoles, but will also keep some content exclusive to Xbox, said a person familiar with the company's thinking. Phil Spencer then followed up with his own comment in an interview saying, quote, I'll just say to players out there who are playing Activision Blizzard games on Sony's platform, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform, and we remained committed to that, end quote. Do you see what I'm talking about? We have a lot of new audience. Do you see what I'm talking about? Okay. Now we have a lot of new viewers coming into the channel. Thank you so much for giving my channel a chance. I do appreciate it. But we have a lot of new viewers coming in who haven't seen what happened with Bethesda, where they used these exact same words, that we're not trying to take members away from the community from other platforms. This isn't about taking games from other platforms. And people viewed that as Xbox saying, well, we're not going to take these games and make them exclusive. We're going to give PlayStation Call of Duty a big cash cow. We're going to give PlayStation Overwatch a potential big cash cow. We're going to give PlayStation Diablo 4 a cash cow. They are a business. They are going to run as such. And if people were of the mindset with Bethesda that Xbox needed to make these games exclusive to make their money back, which these businesses don't operate that way, believe it or not, $70 billion is kind of like chump change for Microsoft with how rich they are. They have this all in a vault. But anyway, people are of the mindset that they need to make the money back for Bethesda. And you think with $70 billion, they're going to give these games away? Let's just use our common sense and knowledge here before we actually go down and compare the wording. Yes, they are going to make these games exclusive. Prepare yourselves properly, mentally I'm talking about. Whether that's physically in the sense of getting an Xbox or a PC, that's up to you. But prepare yourselves mentally. Do not deny this new reality. Again, I want to read the words. I'll just say to players out there who are playing Activision Blizzard games on Sony's platforms, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform, and we remain committed to that. This is about games like Warzone. Warzone will remain multi-plat, just like Fallout 76 will remain multi-plat, just like Elder Scrolls Online will remain multi-plat. Why will these games remain multi-plat? Because they are so widespread, they are so big, minus Fallout 76, that these games will make them way more money as a business by being on multiple platforms. Xbox does not earn or gain anything by having a games as a service title exclusive to their platform. They stand to earn more by saying Warzone goes to everybody, but Call of Duty, you get that here. You get that here at Xbox. Enough to entice you to come through the door for that extra boost, but enough on the outset to give people that taste of Call of Duty if they're looking for it, a free-to-play option, mind you. So that's how Xbox is going to play it here. And of course, the report from Bloomberg makes sense, where they say that some content will be exclusive to Xbox. Think of the IP beyond Call of Duty. We don't even have to talk about the top dogs. Think of Diablo. Think of Crash. Think of Spyro. Think of Tony Hawk. Think of so many different ones that they own there. They worked on Transformers at one point. Activision had their hands in a ton of Marvel games, X-Men games. There is so much there. Singularity. There was a crossover between id and Raven Software that made a dark fantasy Wolfenstein game. Again, there was a lot of cross-pollination here that makes sense. There was also a lot of other IP that hold a ton of potential. And if you think Xbox isn't going to make the most use of that, you're kidding yourself. But even if we put all of that to the side, what this is all for, truly, that we can agree upon, Game Pass. Game Pass gains from this a ton. And I'm very excited to see how Xbox handles the additions to the library here, because I think Activision in their early 2000s were a good publisher. They had a lot of fun titles coming out, and they did do a couple of experiments. Call of Duty is what kind of slowly ruined them, and of course the internal toxic work conditions are what truly ruined them. But I do think they had their hands on a lot of fun titles, some of which are not available via backwards compatibility. I want to see how Xbox tries to straddle that line. Does the team who's working on back compat and FPS boost and says, hey, there's not anything else we can do? Do they figure something out for this content drop? That would be exciting. Are they withholding some of that? We will see if they suddenly figure things out. Keep an eye out on that one. But let's move on from the exclusivity discussion, where I feel like I'm probably going to annoy people about that, because I'm going to be very hard on that fact, like exclusives, to something that, again, is a bit more agreeable. This is an article from New York Times titled, Microsoft will buy Activision Blizzard, a bet on games being central to the internet's future. Mr. Kotick declined to say if he would remain chief executive after the deal closes, when the studio would report to Mr. Spencer. I love reading like websites talk about video games, like calling him Mr. Spencer. It's just so funny, because you'll see like GameSpot say Phil Spencer, because everyone in gaming knows Phil Spencer. Anyway, continuing on, quote, post-close, I will be available as needed to ensure that we have the very best integration, end quote, said Kotick. Then there was a follow-up report from Wall Street Journal that says Bobby Kotick, Activision's longtime CEO, is expected to leave after the deal closes, according to people familiar with those plans. Microsoft has said in its announcement Tuesday that Mr. Kotick will continue to serve as CEO of Activision Blizzard, and that after the deal closes, that Activision Blizzard business will report to Microsoft gaming chief Phil Spencer. But the companies have agreed that he will depart once the deal closes, the people said. Why is this the case, you may be asking? It's because, honestly, I think for Bobby, he gets his very gentle exit. This is the perfect PR distraction. Xbox is a generally positively viewed company. They are absorbing a very negative, toxic company, and Bobby gets to slide away with probably the greatest severance package of all time of hundreds of millions of dollars. So he's probably like, once this is done, yep, see you later. I will be available as needed. And honestly, as we've all said before, it's at a point of maybe redundancy. Good riddance. I think this is something that needs to be done. I mentioned in my video yesterday that this is going to be Xbox's biggest test, because it's not just about making cool games. This isn't just about getting IP into different studios. This isn't about support studios helping the major players. While those are all very exciting, Game Pass potential there, exclusivity, we do need to talk about those. But what this is a real big test of is how Xbox can improve work culture. We are all people at the end of the day. And I don't want to sit here and virtue signal super hard, but we are people. We need to be good to one another, something that I think has been lost on a lot of people since the pandemic begun and everyone started to go online and vent their anger everywhere. We need to be better to each other. And so good games come from studios that are run well. If Xbox can fix this culture issue, I think there are going to be a lot of companies who come to Xbox practically putting their whole company on the table and saying, please. I could totally see if this is a success for Xbox. There have been rumors for so long about Ubisoft. That is one company that has had a lot of internal issues that Xbox comes in with the broom, cleans it all up, potentially. Again, this is very optimistic thinking. We have to be realistic with ourselves and think on the other end of the spectrum. What happens if these work issues persist? Because now we're looking at Xbox that's overseeing their own first-party studios, Bethesda, and Activision, and we can't expect all of that realistically to be squeaky clean. So what we can only expect, I think, of Xbox beyond cleaning up the current mess at Activision, because that is their problem now once they do acquire them, is ensuring that when something does happen in one of their various studios, that they act quickly and that they inform themselves properly and make sure that they make an educated decision and have the proper result turn out that is best for everybody in the workspace. That is all we can ask at this point, I think, when you have so many studios beneath you. It's a lot to manage, and they need a lot of teams to manage all these teams and make sure the work conditions are proper. But again, this will be a big test for them, and getting Kotick out the door is one of the biggest steps forward for Activision in a while on a level of making those work conditions better. Last but not least is a little blurb here from Microsoft's own press release that, again, I apologize, I completely missed, or I would have mentioned this in my original video, but I want to talk about it here, which is in an interview with CNBC's Becky Quick on Squawk on the Street, that's a horrible name, by the way, Kotick said the deal came through after he realized Microsoft had the technology to push Activision forward in the burgeoning competition between tech companies to build the metaverse. In the same interview, Spencer said talks about an acquisition began between the two companies late last year. Then, a little bit of a scoop afterwards, in an interview, Kotick said the deal had nothing to do with the controversy surrounding Activision or calls for him to step down, and that Spencer reached out to him last year. A person familiar with the discussions who was not authorized to speak publicly said Microsoft looked at Activision's situation, given all the negative attention and pressure on Kotick, and wondered if the beleaguered CEO would be willing to do a deal. Kotick initially didn't want to sell, according to another person familiar with the talks, and also put the word out to see if any other company, PlayStation, one they've been working with lately, would outbid Microsoft. But at that point, Kotick had little leverage with his board amid the ongoing public scrutiny at his company. This is huge, and I gotta give another second video in a row. Salute to my co-host, Lord Cognito. He's had his finger on the pulse here with this one. He's been saying Xbox likes to come in when you're down. Look at where Bethesda was when Xbox picked them up, and look at how people view them publicly now. People are excited about Bethesda. They're excited about their future. They're excited about the new games. But when Bethesda was acquired, we're talking post-Fallout 76, post-Wolfenstein, Youngblood, all these microtransaction-infested games, broken, buggy games. It wasn't a good look for Bethesda, but with Xbox stepping in, it was a hope that they could return to their old selves. I think of kind of like Persona 4, where Xbox is facing the shadow constantly, and they're like, you are the true self. And as long as Bethesda, as long as Activision accepts their true self, they'll go back to normal, and they'll be a stronger person for it at the end. I know, that was a really whack reference, but bear with me. The main thing I wanted to talk about, this started late last year, and it probably started with Phil just shooting out an email. Hey, you up? Hey, you up? You ready to do this talk here? Because Xbox saw like, oh, things are going downhill here. And I respect that Phil took his shot here because he does see something that he can make some change in, hopefully with his team, and that those IP are just kind of resting there. Again, my biggest concern here is that Xbox absorbs Activision. Activision doesn't change much, and all these IP within Activision just lie dormant. Because it's the same thing that Xbox Game Studios kind of has a problem with. Killer Instinct, kind of just chilling there. Banjo-Kazooie, kind of just chilling there. And I think Banjo, like, it's time. Like a Banjo remake, perfect timing for that right now. People are looking for a 3D platformer. Do it. Like, they have a lot of IP that are resting. In Activision, you just inherit a ton of dead IP. And then we got to go over to Bethesda, where I've talked a ton ad nauseum about Fallout. You got to do something about that. You've got Dishonored. Do you do something about that? It's not like you're always going to have these IP being addressed every single quarter, but there's a lot of parts here that have to get moving, and it takes a lot to get them moving, to get the teams assembled, to buy into the idea, to have the vision for the game. So a lot of this is idealistic, but again, the idea that this all came together in a couple of months, and it is the biggest deal ever, this shows that not every deal is going to be like Bethesda, which was a 2 years in the making deal, because it started in 2018 in November and came together and was announced in September of 2020. And now here we are in 2022, January, when let's say late 2021 is a cutoff of, I'll say September. We're talking about a 4-month window max for these talks to occur, and that they actually came to a deal. Pretty surprising stuff in my opinion. So I almost still don't believe it. I'm like, is it actually going to go through? This is crazy to think about. A lot to process, a lot to digest, but it's happening fast for all of us, it appears. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I leave the news in your hands. What do you think of the latest updates between Exclusivity, Bobby Kotick, and of course the timing of the Activision deal? Please do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.